the other heartbreaking story that we have been following as well is this just heartbreaking story that came out of Mississippi. An entire town gone. Rolling Fork, Mississippi. And I think it's absolutely stunning. I was reading this story and I was looking at this photo of this walk-in cooler that saved the lives of these employees at this diner. And they went into this cooler and they lived. As the husband of the owner, he said as they were shutting the door, he saw the roof of the building come off and was just able to get that closed. And man, it was Chuck's Dairy Bar in Rolling Fork. And they've had all these aerial images. It's just demolished. And then that walk-in cooler standing. And that's where the whole building is just crumbled around it. And that walk-in cooler standing. And thankfully, many survivors, but a lot of fatalities. I think it was 27 was the number of fatalities. Massive, massive tornado. A number of storms. Storm in Georgia. I had a headline earlier about how 2 lions got out because a tornado damaged their enclosure. It was at Pine Mountain in Georgia? Tornado damaged their enclosure. And then they had to tell the town of 1,500 people, don't go outside because you got some 2 tigers out there running around. So they were thankfully able to get the tigers, contain the tigers, and bring them back and repair the enclosure and do all of that. But man, can you imagine being told after a tornado, oh, by the way, there's tigers out there, so just stay in your house for a little bit more, will you? That's golly. But our hearts go out to them and everyone in I just can't even. They had a drone that went over Rolling Fork. I've seen tornado damage before, being from Missouri. And when my kids were little bitty, my youngest was still a baby. We lived in Jefferson County, Missouri, and there was a tornado that came in. And I was getting the kids downstairs, and I could see, because the back, the basement and all of that, glass, doors, glass, windows, all this. And I could see above the tree line, I could see the funnel from above the tree line. And it was one of the most terrifying things ever. And that's the time when my kids and I were all in the back. And this is when but now I'm ambivalent about Star Wars because of all the wokery. But I had a collectible Mace Windu. This is how serious I was. My oldest son, I let him break out that collectible Mace Windu to distract him from the literal tree trunks and branches that were flying by. Like the windows were rattling. It was really weird because you could just feel the air being sucked out of it was like a vacuum. It was weird. And it sounds, when you hear it, it sounds like a train. It is wild. It got real quiet and real still, and it was very green. And then all hell broke loose. And later on, the next day, we went to survey the area. Thankfully, they were building a subdivision down the road from us. And thankfully, there were only 2 houses that were getting close to being completed, so no one was in there. But everything that they had been done was wiped off. And you could see the path of destruction. And it wasn't even a huge tornado. But the other thing that get me, and I took a ton of pictures, all the trees were bent, not broken. Some of them had splintered. But they were bent over, not broken, all in the same direction. And it was terrifying to see that. Bent, but not broken. Some of them were splintered. I've never seen that before. My husband and I just looked at each other like, this is spooky. This is wild. But thankfully, there were no fatalities from that one. And that was not anywhere near what people in Rolling Fork are having to deal with. So we're praying for those folks.